I've had this for over a decade and finally get to use it. Oddly never opened it because, there wasn't actually a pattern inside. So I had to pivot and draft my own baptismal gown. I based measurements off of this form. I used a polyester for the lining and a satin for the shell. Baby baptism in the Lutheran Church is traditionally pretty prompt, so I made it newborn size. I wasn't able to make one for their first baby, but better late than never. I also needed it done swiftly as I was visiting them soon. There isn't many pieces to this, and they're so tiny, so we'll see how it comes together. After overlocking the gown and sleeve edges, I hemmed them. And that's when the needle jammed and I realized I had been sewing with the wrong size needle for how many years. Once I replaced it with one that wasn't the largest size, I continued and basted the sleeve shoulders. Then to sew the sleeve and lining separately from each other. Next, the lining shoulder seams and basting around the arm and neck holes. Repeating on the satin layer. So far, this has been of the utmost hot mess. Part of that due to such a small scale and maybe rushing around too much. On to sewing the neckline, which is probably a little too big. Then the back seams connecting the lining and shell, to which I understitched all along. Up next was the gown lining and shell. I still pressed the tiny seams as best as I could. Finally, I connected the bodice side seams separately. With all the pieces prepped, it was time for some hand sewing. Specifically the itty-bitty sleeves. I also wanted to make sure there were no scratchy edges on the inside. After the sleeves were done, I sewed the gown outside and lining individually. This was ultimately connected at the back with more hand sewing. Now it's ready for the 2 snaps at the back. I also added a pin-on bow to be worn at the collar or waist, depending on gender. This might not be a very luxurious baptismal gown, but at least it should be comfortable. I know my sister and brother-in-law will love it.